Ah, yes. Here we are. Here we are. It is noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. You know that because you're watching us live. And I don't know how you tell time any other time of the day or any other day, but you know if we're live, it's noon Eastern time on a Wednesday. Of course, you can hear the first of every month the sirens heralding our arrival on the scene, if you will. Many places you can watch us, of course, on Facebook, the Temptations Beach Facebook page. There's also the Jedi Hemp YouTube channel. And if you're on X or Twitter, whatever as you call it, check at Hemptations and you will find us. I am just Stoner Jesus. I do various things on the interwebs. You can search He is Beach, who currently has his mic muted. So we need to unmute that. And then
Hello.
ask him, how are things this week in the world of Hemptations, Beach?
Cold. It is cold in the world of Hemptations. Um, I'm, broadcasting here from the Planet Everywhere studios in Indiana, so we don't hear any sirens going off because I'm in the middle of nowhere. So you can hear the trucks going by. It's for sure. But welcome everyone to this week's High Noon Hemp Show. We do appreciate you being here. Once again, I just did this, but with a numbers person that I am. So today's episode, if I have this correct, is season 24, episode 4.
Indeed.
Um, today's date, 12/4/24. So if you put all that together, you get 24/4/12/4/24. So
Wow.
anyway. I like my numbers, and there's some numbers combinations for you for today's High Noon Hemp Show. Remember, everyone, the FDA has not evaluated this show for safety or efficacy. So
Indeed.
remember that. All right, let's go ahead and do our I pledge. I pledge allegiance to the hemp fields of America and to the soil which it is planted. One seed under the sun with responsibility, sustainability, and thrivability for all. I have to remember that hand on the heart with a peace sign thing every time I see it. We're only 280 or so episodes into this, and
Yeah.
can't we make changes? Why can't we evolve as
Yeah.
well? We should.
Do whatever we want.
I mean, just like the music. See, I had some music coming in. That's the first time we've probably done that, only because I can Bluetooth to the TV, and that's what I can do, and so it's kind of fun. But anyway, so um, stuff still going on in Ohio. I heard last minute yesterday they had actually opened up the stage for public comments at the state house. I think you had to go. Again, I didn't find out about it until late Monday, and then I already had to do something yesterday that I could not put off, or I probably would have driven to Columbus myself. Hopefully, we had some smart, intelligent people show up and convince them that this is a bad idea. Remember, if you're in Ohio or not in Ohio, call the state representative, call the senators, call the congressman, call them all, call everybody, and let them know that we do not support a ban. We support age restrictions. I can get behind that. Product placement as far as where it is in the store, I can get behind that. That's really the only restrictions that we need on these things that they call intoxicating hemp. So we'll see. Hopefully this will continue to stall, and they will go to recess and then have to come back and start all over again. We'll keep everybody informed there, one way or another. All right, let's get on with the product spotlight. As I say, 4 from the store, 1 from my door here on at the High Noon Hemp Show. So here's the pre-rolls, very popular. In Ohio, you can't buy pre-rolls, which is like a huge, huge mistake. And they'd probably be the highest selling object if they had them, in all honesty, as far as smoking related products. Now, again, this is THCA. These are about 22%, I believe, average THCA content. They range everywhere from just regular 1.3 grams. We have a keef, which is keef covered, 1.3 grams. We have a diamond covered, 1.3 gram, and then the 2 gram blunt, as they call it. And again, this is THCA, 100% legal right now. Trying to ban it. Even at the federal level, they're trying to change things on this, but this is it's good stuff. I can tell you that one way or another. Over the counter, cheaper than what you would pay. These are the items we card for. We don't sell to kids, nor should anyone. In all honesty, it's just the right thing to do. And so, anyway, there you have it. THCA pre rolls. And then maybe you want to make your own pre roll. How about some raw cones? We did actually just get back in. This picture doesn't show them. This just shows the classic 1 1/4 and the classic king size. We also got the organic 1 1/4s back in. There was a raw recall on all the organic products. They had some issues and how they were representing all of that. In one way, but apparently I believe they've got it all worked out, and I am sure that they are truly using organic ingredients from where they say they're getting these organic ingredients now, since they had gone through so much trouble. So if you like the organic, who doesn't? You get some raw 1 1/4 or your own pre rolls for the holiday if you so wish. We have THCA flour that you can get it all. One stop shop. No lines. There's another one for you, from my understanding. Huge lines in Ohio. So
Right
no
here.
lines at Temptations. Very few lines at Temptations. Um, how about a little? These make great gifts. Maybe you've got an iPad or some type of pad screen, even like a kid's. I know they make all kinds of screen like iPad like items for kids even. So these are great bags for that. I want to guess they measure about 10 to 8, have a zipper. Basically, can help. I'm not saying it would protect it from a drop, but it would be better if it was in it when it did drop.
Yeah.
If it was. Either way. So there's just a nice little zipper, iPad slash pad, whatever kind of pad that fits in there. We're not picky. You can put whatever you want in it once you buy it, or give it away and see what they want to do with it. All right, and then here are hoodies. I've been talking a lot about the winter clothes and the hoodies and whatever because again, we're here. We are in the coldness. We can thank Canada. Apparently, it is 15 degrees colder than normal this week in Cincinnati, Ohio, the high state area, I should say. And apparently, we can thank Canada for that. Thanks, Canada,
Yeah.
for the cold breeze. Not a fan. Luckily, it hit quickly, and I had to get myself prepared. But this is just these here can just provide one layer at this point, or
Yeah.
the second layer underneath the third layer, which is what I have been doing recently. Um, if I don't have my hood lamps, which you'll see coming up later in a minute, I should say, when it comes to my hood lamp, but jacket. So there you have it. 4 from the store. Now the one from my door is a of the earth sling bag. This was a really neat bag. Super old. I used it so much back in the day that I actually had to replace the zipper. Um, and so, but this particular bag was the exact same bag, not the exact same bag, because that would be like I don't know. Woody might have it on his shelves, but Woody, and I should know the name of the movie, but he's a bank robber. Woody Harrelson. He's a bank robber.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know. Part of a bank robbing crew, from my understanding. But he wears a bag like this in the movie. It is a movie prop, and so I thought I'd bust it out with a little trivia on this particular bag. I love it. The It's a sling bag, so it's just one strap, and it velcros in the front, and then it has a phone pouch and another little tiny zipper bag pouch right there on the chest piece. I should have shown that as well, because it's just a neat bag. So there you have it. That's the one from my door. One of my mini bags that I have, part of my hemp collection, the largest on the planet.
Indeed.
I dare you.
That's right. Was the movie Now You See Me?
That could be it. It could be it. I don't remember, but if that's the one, I think yeah, it's
It's
probably
about magicians who rob banks during their performances.
maybe. I don't know if I've ever seen it. Now I'm gonna have to go back and look. I know I've seen scenes from the movie. There's a scene where he's staking out a bank, and you can clearly see the bag in the scene,
Yeah.
where I think he's staking out the bank. So that could be it. I'm gonna have to go now and see. Um, I should be referencing and tagging these. I know that once again, Holly Hunter wears a hemp backpack all through the very first tornado movie, Twister. Was it called Twister? I think it was.
Okay.
That one somehow I remember. But she wears a hemp backpack in that movie. So
There
I
you
think
go.
I'm trying to
Speak-
reference all the movies. Either
Speaking
way.
of the largest hemp collection in the world, no one has challenged. Still waiting. You know where we are. We're on X, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube. There's emails. This nobody. No one has stepped up to challenge. Which, if that doesn't say that Beach has the largest collection in the world, I don't know what does. But
It's
again,
true.
we'll be here chronicling what Beach has in the Beachwear segment. Because every week I just happen around this time in the show to ask Beach a question, and it is, what are you wearing, Beach?
It's true. If you're curious, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you'll know
Mhm.
here on the High Noon Hemp Show. Which reminds me, I forgot to ask you, Stoner, do you know what today is?
That's what I was just thinking. I was just about to ask you, what day is today, Beach?
Hemp Day! That's right, folks. If you're viewing, it's every Wednesday here on the High Noon Hemp Show. It's Hemp Day! Anyway, so starting from the top there, head to toe, let's start with that Hempies beanie. That's right, the cold weather's broken out, so I've busted out my beanies and my head wraps and all that stuff to keep the head warm, which just goes on top of the hood that is on my hemp hood lamb. Breaking those out. One of the great things about the hemp hood lamb, I was just talking about layering up, but one of the greatest things I think about the hood lamb is I can put a t-shirt on underneath it. And again, when I left the boat this morning, it was like 28 degrees. I think. I mean, it was cold, but just this hemp hood lamb with a t-shirt on, I was warm. They are, you don't really have to layer up with the hemp hood lambs. Not that I haven't been, just because it's cold has been getting me, but you don't really have to because they are super warm jackets. You'll be seeing much more of those, obviously, since the winter is hit straight up here, coming up more and more on the High Noon Hemp Show. What are you wearing? Beach segment. Underneath it, Young Maven. Um, I have to admit, this is actually the outfit that I wore last night and I forgot to mention the medical marijuana meetup. I'll talk about that in the news. It was another good one. But Kentucky was playing last night. And so, of course, I was wearing my big blue. Um, and I just decided to keep it on for the High Noon Hemp Show today because I do that a lot, um, you know, one way or another. Uh, and so my jeans there being held up by a Hempy's belt. Hempy's getting a two for today. Those are Kentucky Hemp Outfitters. My favorite jeans. You definitely see a lot of those in the colder months here on What Are You Wearing Beach. In the pocket there, you've seen almost every episode. Almost every episode. I bet 270 episodes at least contain one of my Green Springs technology pens. It's really the only reoccurring character, even though they do change if you notice, because sometimes it's a gold trim, sometimes it's a silver trim, sometimes it's a engraved, sometimes it's 3D printed. I have a multiple collection of Green Springs technology pens, but if I have a pocket to put them in, I've got one on me. Underneath it all, pair of Hemptopia briefs. On the feet, pair of Satori socks, and then those are my Rackles. And I know I'm pretty sure I just showed my Rackles not too long ago. I wore these um, on the show. Super light shoes. I'm not sure they're the best winter, all in all, but they're very super light. Uh, I guess technically speaking, because I was on the boat last night, and yes, I have heat on the boat. For everyone out there.
What I was first thing I thought of when you said I left the boat this morning, I thought, wow, that's got to be cold.
Yeah, no, I have heat on the boat. I have heaters and heat. Either way, so I can keep it nice and toasty in the cold weather if I need to. It just all works out that way sometimes. So, all right, well there you have it. Here on the High Noon Hemp Show, what are you wearing, Beach? Now you know, from head to toe, just like every week.
That's right.
Or every day, I should say. Not every week, every day. Every day. It's not just once a week I dress head to toe. In hemp, it is every day. It's true. All right. Well, let's check out. I'm not even sure what commercial I picked this week, so let's check out this commercial. We'll be back with the news.
Hemptations celebrates our anniversary with a store-wide sale. Get into Hemptations between September 1st and Labor Day and let us reward you for being so great to us for 20 years plus. Everything for 20% off or higher. Hemptations has the largest selection of hemp and a great selection of vapes and such, all because of you, the customer. Get into any one of the locations and save September 1st through Labor Day. All the info at hemptations.com. Having Hemptations for 20 years.
Well, I kind of botched that one, I guess. But in a sense, I guess we can say that was kind of a Green Friday. We did have some stuff on sale for Green Friday and Small Business Saturday, but I was a little late on the anniversary sale commercial. And like I said, I wasn't sure what it was because sometimes I can tell it shows the image of what the commercial is, and sometimes I just see like it's 30 seconds, and so I know it's a commercial. So, fun stuff either way. All right, let's get into some news. Get everybody on their Hemp Day way. So we finally got it. We've always said, okay, so for 30 years, I have always defended the idea that that the police and the government is all used to say, if we legalize hemp, you'll just plant marijuana in the hemp fields. Okay, that'd be the way around it. Okay, and we have always said everyone in the hemp industry, because this is the science, says, well, that would degrade the marijuana. The hemp would degrade the marijuana, and so it would be a ridiculous idea to Happy Wednesday to plant marijuana in a hemp field because it would degrade it. Well, they just did a cross pollination study, and this was on hemp and cross pollination. And what it showed was that 1%, just 1% of the pollen can travel 1 kilometer or a little over a half a mile, 0.6 miles. Okay, that's 1% of the pollen, and that's a lot of pollen. If you're within a half a mile of another hemp field or a marijuana field, for that matter, outdoor, then you'd have to worry. You have to worry about that 1%. 0.01%, and maybe not a lot, but if you have acres and acres and acres and acres of hemp pollinating, and that's just the male, and it's normally the male is just thrown in there with the female, especially when you're growing with seed, for seed. That 0.01% of the pollen can travel up to 20 plus miles. And so you know, obviously everything's got to be just right, but just thinking that that little bit of pollen can go, that far and mess things up is quite interesting. Does it matter for industrial hemp? Not really. If you're growing for grain and you get cross pollinated from somewhere else, um, that's just going to make the female flower go to seed anyway, which is the goal that you're looking for when it comes to the pollination and growing for seed. If you're growing for fiber, there's no issue there either. I mean, once again, you would just end up with fiber plants, and those are once again normally the female that may have a seed pod on it, and so you may end up with more seed, which you could collect and then use for next year's crop, which is something I think that the agricultural industry, it's another thing I don't think that they like about industrial hemp, because now you can't really keep seeds. It's like it's all so controlled that it's just super bizarre actually how farming is. It's just the corporate takeover of farming in the 80s has basically destroyed all of the good things that farming brought us for the most part anyway. And so now, of course, if you're growing for flower, CBD, CBN, CBG, whatever it may be, THCA, okay, that's the last thing you want for that cross pollination. Of course, now a lot of that and most of that industrial hemp growing is indoors, I think, but there are a lot of large scale outdoor grows going on, across the country in different states. So obviously they would be affected as far as seed production in the flower, which is what you don't want. You don't want any male plants anywhere near when you're growing for the flower, because that does put the seeds in there, and that's the one thing that we have. That the horticulturists have spent a lot of time doing is basically removing seeds from cannabis on the therapeutic side of things, whether it's THC plants or flowers, THCA flowers, CBD flowers, any of those flowers, and that doesn't affect the percentage, from my understanding. But I think that what it does is it devalues the weight. I think you get the full potential of the flower when there's no seeds in it or very little seeds in it, obviously. And so, but again, I've always talked about cross pollination because it does, it breeds, it is naturally a breeder, female and male. You have to have the pollen to send the female into flower, or to seed, I should say. It will grow the flower. But if you want seed in the flower, then you have to have that pollen from the male to do that. So Illinois is delaying their new hemp regulations due to an outcry from the industry. Once again, I don't know what. Obviously, there's these whatever it is that Illinois has recently passed is pretty extreme. But at least they're smart enough to listen to the industry itself and hear what they have to say. Connecticut governor, he's getting sued because he just changed the hemp laws in Connecticut, from my understanding, without going through any channels, which is what DeSwine tried to do here in Ohio the first time that he tried to ban. He was trying to go through no channels. They were like, no, this is not going to happen. Now they're having a discussion about it. And, hopefully they do the right thing there and they don't pass a ban. There are other bills in Ohio. There is one bill in Ohio that I support, and that basically just puts age restrictions again in product placement. So you can't, and again, nobody has their intoxicating hemp products out on the shelf for anybody to pick up. They're all behind the counter anyway, to be honest with you. I'm almost sure of that. And then there is another bill they're not even discussing it as far as I know, that puts all of these policies, or puts the decision of the policies of intoxicating hemp under the Department of Agriculture in Ohio. And I feel like that's a ridiculous idea. I think that, you know, now, if that means that the Department of Agriculture has to set up like a think tank to come up with these, I don't want just one person. It should be a room full of people that are, and this can be, everywhere from law enforcement to, I saw something about how I forget what it was, but they made it sound like it was like the overdose crisis center is behind the ban on these things. And I'm like, I don't even understand that, honestly. Yeah, how many overdoses of intoxicating hemp products have there been in the state of Ohio? And has anyone died or actually been long-term hurt? I don't think so. Not that I know of. That doesn't even happen with regular marijuana products either way. But so we're still following this. If they vote on it, then we start to worry. I think that even once again, if it passes, I think it will immediately get uh, some suits started, because every state that has done this for the most part, and I think right now California is the only state. And I think that California is still, I think there might be some lawsuits that they're trying to do in California, but they did not get a stay as far as stopping the implication or the implementation of the new hemp laws in California. Whereas in almost every state, it gets challenged. The judge says, "Well, we're going to hold off on this until we figure out whether it's actually legal for the government to do this," and then normally gets overturned, or the ban gets banned. This is what the judge does. He bans the ban. And so I think that's what will happen here. If worst case scenario, they vote on it, pass it, gets signed by the governor, and it goes into law, so to speak. It will get challenged almost immediately, and will most more than likely get overturned, just like all the others in all the other states. The only states that are successful at doing anything with intoxicating hemps are the states that are smart enough, once again, to put age restrictions. It's a lot harder to fight that than it is to fight a ban, because the ban is anti-consumerism, and this is industrial hemp. It's federally legal. It's under the definition of industrial hemp federally, and therefore in the states, which, because the states follow the definition of industrial hemp, and their processing and licensing of growing industrial hemp. So, you can't say one form of something is legal and the other form. That's why most of these bans don't hold up. That's it's not legal. It's not legal in the United States to do. That's why almost all these bans get held up. All right. So let's check out this. This is probably one of the neatest looking hemp houses. This is the Verdant house. No, I'm sorry. This house actually here is, what they're saying is, the first use of hempcrete in France. And so this house was, I forget, 80s. I think they actually redid this house with hempcrete in the 80s. Of course, I immediately said, well, actually, there's a 600-year-old hempcrete bridge in France. So not not the first use of hempcrete in France at all. The first modern use of hempcrete in France, maybe. But this picture was recently taken to show that everything's great. The house is in great condition still, looks great. And so, but that it also shows that France does get credit for the modern rebirth of hempcrete. We have to give France full credit for that at this point because it started, I think, late '80s, early '90s, and it was like full blown going um, by the mid '90s, where they were using hempcrete as much as possible everywhere. And of course, it's most more likely because they have a lot of hempcrete byproduct for hempcrete because they grow a lot for the fiber, whether it's to make paper with or whatever. France grows a lot for the paper, and so therefore they have all this leftover byproduct, what we call hurd or shiv, which is the broken up little chips that you use in hempcrete. So it almost makes sense that they looked for that for a very good byproduct of the fiber industry in hemp, and once again started the modern hempcrete building movement. And that was, once again, mid '90s. They were going full blown. So when we opened up in '95, France was trying to go full blown as much as they could, and continues to do that. There's a lot of hempcrete insulation used in France, and there's also a lot of hempcrete fiber insulation used in France. They really utilize the construction aspects, the natural construction aspects, and this is kind of an environmental thing to them for sure. Let's see. I think I have another picture of. Was there another picture of like a hut? Did that come over? There's the hut, and again, it's very basic hempcrete little hut. But once when I talked about this, and I just love talking about it, is you can look at that upper right hand corner wall and just see how you layer it in the frame. It just shows how neat it looks naturally, with the different and I'm sure, once again, if you want a consistent colored look, I'm sure you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't care, then you end up having this kind of different colored look somehow. And I don't know if that's caused by the different colored tint of the hurd itself, the hemp stalk part that goes in there, which is the only thing I can think of that could change, because everything else is just it's just lime basically in the creep mix, and lime and hemp. So, but I've talked about how you could dye it, and maybe they did. Maybe they threw a little bit of coloring in. Maybe they've somehow, that like that darker line was like, maybe that somehow they did throw a little bit of something in there that darkened it like that. Just once again to show that you can kind of tint it any color I think you want, and you could add coloring, which I've shown as well. So that's pretty neat stuff when it comes to the hempcrete. And this is, those are complete hempcrete walls. Wherever they're doing this, those would be load bearing, which is something you can't do in the United States. Now, something for this is once again just kind of like a little open shack garage area. It's not like a living space. So I think you could build a hempcrete load bearing walls, hempcrete structure, as long as it wasn't a living space. But you can't build a living space, occupied space, out of it here in the United States. And I don't, who knows? So, was there one more picture of the greenhouse? I might as well go ahead to all the hemp houses this week. Oh, that's right, I forgot to edit it. So you can kind of, if you zoom in there, so I just love the front of this place, which is just freaking amazing, honestly. It's just super neat looking. But those corrugated panels that go up and over the window and are on the outside, those are hemp panels. And it's kind of like corrugated hemp siding, almost, is what you're getting there in this house. And this is called the Verdant house. And they also used, and I couldn't get a good picture of really how they did this, but they mentioned that they also used hemp fabric, like curtains and whatnot, to divide up rooms and make openings and things too. And so they've really kind of dedicated themselves to using hemp where they could in this structure. It's kind of like a long, skinny structure, but that front open green windows is awesome. And then there was another house, I believe, over in the UK that I have shown on here that has used this hemp corrugated siding on the outside, or maybe it was a barn, if I remember correctly. I don't know. I've shown so many hemp construction things. Um, so we have seen this hemp corrugated siding kind of before, the wavy kind of siding, which I think that if it's weatherproof, it would make great roof. I would think, honestly, great roofing if it holds up to the elements. Um, Either way. All right, Brazil has officially legalized hemp cultivation, manufacturing, and sales. I would have almost guessed that Brazil was already growing hemp for fiber and seed, maybe, but maybe not. I don't know why I thought that, but I would have thought that. But apparently, they haven't been, and so it's at least officially legal in Brazil. And so, a lot of the South American countries are, again, just like everywhere else, is finally, it's like little patches of these. Brazil's not a small country. Don't get me wrong. Brazil is pretty large. And they have plenty of space. And as long as they're not cutting down the rainforest to grow hemp, good for them. And in fact, they could probably cut down less rainforest if they grow more hemp. I'm just saying. Because we don't need to cut down rainforests. We can make 70% of the wood products that exist probably out of hemp if and when we need to now. So we can stop cutting down most of the trees for most of the products. And those are just the wood products. Again, 20% of that is paper. I don't know that they're making paper out of rainforest wood, which would really break my heart. But either way, there's a lot of wood products, tree products that we can immediately stop cutting down trees for and make out of hemp. And hopefully Brazil is going to start growing more hemp and cutting down less rainforest. So a study on mice shows something that we've kind of known, and that CBN affects sleep using objective sleep measures, good for it, and suggests an active metabolite may contribute to its hypnotic action as it increased sleep in rats. So this was a rodent study. I'm sure to move on to human studies now that they've kind of gotten where they are with it. But this is something that we have known through testimonials, that when you add CBD and CBN together, that's probably the best sleep aid formulation. And again, our customers use CBD for three main reasons: the anti-inflammatory principle, the anti-anxiety principles, and the sleep aid principles. And so, adding once again the CBN to the CBD has even more beneficial, and this is according to our customers and what we're seeing just about everywhere. And what this study is at least proven in mice is that CBN is definitely on the downside of things, and really helps on top of CBD, helps with sleep issues. Man, this breaks my heart. This is the third person recently that I've had to talk about, but a 64-year-old man has been sentenced to life in Dubois for prescribed CBD. And what's interesting is the court system described what he had as cannabis, CBD, and CBD oil. That's all the same stuff. Okay. And that's very misleading when, again, I understand their drug laws in Dubai and some of those places over there, the Emirates, are like the last thing you want to do is get caught with some weed. Again, life sentence for weed. That's basically because of their laws over there. That's what's happened to this gentleman. And this is the third person. There's a football coach right now, and he only got, I think, 8 years or 3 years for his CBD. Um, and once again, this person was prescribed their CBD, and they used it for sleep and chronic pain associated with Addison's disease. Now, luckily, this gentleman, 64-year-old gentleman, traveling with his CBD for health issues, gets life sentence in Dubai. I mean, this should just be something that this should be major headlines. In all honesty, I don't know why this is not major headlines in the United States, because this is ridiculous. And once again, this is why I always say, make sure you look into the laws of where you're going, because even though you may think that CBD is legal everywhere, it is not. And there are a lot of places just like these places that classify it. Just like the United States did before 2014, if extracted or whatever. But it might be perfectly legal in the United States and to fly with, unless you're flying into one of these countries. And it always, this is the worst one. Well, obviously, we knew about the basketball player in Russia who was held for a long time because she had CBD products. And so, again, don't travel. I would recommend not traveling anywhere internationally, unfortunately.
Yeah.
If you are going to travel anywhere internationally, then, have the tincture in a plain something. I don't know. Have gummies that don't look like regular gummies. I don't know what to say other than be very, very careful.
Yeah.
And then they wonder, because if you claim your food products as your gummies, then are they going to test those and find CBD in them, and then that's still going to be considered illegal? I don't know. It's very possible. As you can see, they have 3 different categories for CBD in Dubai, obviously, with cannabis, CBD, and CBD oil. So here is a picture now this article was called Hemp and Design, but it was talking about Organico, which is a versatile material based on hemp, self-developed biocomposite that utilizes plant-based bioprotein as the binder. And so not only are you using, the natural hemp, and this is just kind of different forms of it. The middle one is more like a hemp composite, which would probably rival plastic. The one kind of down to the bottom right corner, that's more like what we see like with the press board made out of the hemp birds, which is what we make all our shelves out of. Now, that's not as flat and uniform, but that's basically there. The top piece, if you can barely see, is it's like curved fiber. So it's kind of composite, kind of fiber still, but molded. And that binder is probably the most important thing. You can use all the hemp in it, but if you're using some very non-eco-friendly binder, then you're kind of going backwards. Now this Organico is using a bio-based binder, which makes basically the whole product 100% friendly. eco-friendly, no matter what. So, hemp can be used in so many ways, and this is the fine minutia now of figuring out best formulas for all of the things we can do with hemp. This is, why I've said we're on the brink of the hemp industries in so many different directions, and why there are so many directions you could go to start your own hemp business or come up with your own hemp product uh, that can be used in everyday life. Everyday life. Now, these don't look like everyday life products, but all of a sudden we're making shelving out of this, and we're making car panels out of this, and which we're already doing. I don't know how eco-friendly the binders are in the hemp composites that BMW uses in their doors, but they're mostly hemp. The binder would be the only thing in them that wasn't hemp, and so it's all a step in the right direction. And then I've said there is no perfect, but I have to say that hemp composite made with bio binder that's pretty perfect. That's you know um, that's it's doing things right in the world. Um, hemp H. I'm sorry. H is for hemp. This is a new book. I just love it. I don't know why, but I like it because it's Marin Krings, but the book is basically investigating hemp as a phytoremediator, as a carbon sequester, and its potential in sustainable manufacturing practices. So once again, this is kind of focusing on the subcategories of what makes hemp, yet again, the choice of plant to grow and use for things that we need to grow and use hemp for. Uh, I'll have to see if I can find this online, or see if I can find out. I like the way it looks. I'd like to see a hard copy just to see um, what kind of stuff it involves either way. But I like the idea. Uh, Basically, it's a big book, so I feel like they've really, hopefully, done their research and can help with these things. I did recently, and I've talked about the phytoremediation program with the Native Americans up in the Northeast, where um, the Air Force finally gave uh, the property back to the indigenous people. But they did, of course, they didn't hold their word and actually clean up the chemicals that they left in the soil before they gave it to the indigenous people, or back to the indigenous people. And that was part of the original deal with the indigenous people, is that the United States government would clean up all these chemicals that the Air Force had left over and into the ground, but of course they didn't. And this was, I believe, the original agreement was like in the 80s or something. And so the government held on to this property for forever and ever and never cleaned it up. And then finally said, well, okay, you can have it. You clean it up. Which is exactly how it's just so hard to believe that we can parallel the European behavior towards indigenous people 300 years later. But that's exactly what happened here. Well, the indigenous people planted the hemp. It worked great. I think I saw it removed 10 or 12 of the 28 PFAs and PFOs, which are your forever chemicals, as they call them, because they never freaking go away. Uh, and the issue now that they're having is they can't figure out how to destroy the hemp that has removed the chemicals without releasing the chemicals back into the environment again. So that's the next process. And I know hemp has been used, and I don't know how it's been disposed of in the past across the world when it was used for phytoremediation. Uh, I once again would like to see the studies of where they obviously tested the hemp and found that the chemicals were in the hemp. Was it in the fiber? Was it in the herd? Was it in the leaves? Where was the chemicals that the plant pulled up out of the ground? Which I think further research needs to be proven. Where they go, so that the possible byproducts could still be used in something. If those chemicals are not in the herd, then we should be using that for building material. If it's not in the fiber, then we should be using that for clothing. Um, but if it's in either one of those, and I would guess that it could be in the fiber, because I believe that's where everything's traveling up through the plant and when it's alive. And so I would guess that I wouldn't think that they would accumulate it in the stalk, but maybe because it is so efficient at pulling up chemicals as a phytoremediator, maybe it does consume the whole plant, goes into the whole plant as it's growing and sucking the chemicals out. So we're looking into more research on that. Obviously, it's an issue. They've tested the plants. They knew that they've tested them and found these chemicals in the plants, so they know that they pulled them out of the ground. And so the next step is trying to figure out exactly how to dispose of this safely as well. I have shown my set of hemp composite plastic tees. Now there is a company that's doing. These are boxes of 25 hemp composite tees made by Hempties. Hempties golf tees. You can go to Hempties Golf USA, and they're actually. I mean, they're not cheap like you can buy a bag of golf tees from. But once again, made out of hemp composite, which at the very least is biodegradable, possibly compostable. So it may break down even quicker than what a biodegradable. So you break your tee or you leave it in the golf course. It's not whatever. And I think the once again the best thing about these is most golf tees are made out of wood, which came from a tree. And then was whittled down into these little golf tees. They're cheap, and that's all well and good by the big bagful. But if we could replace every golf tee with a hemp composite golf tree, that's a lot of trees we can save. A lot of trees we can save. So if you're an eco-friendly golfer next spring, or maybe you're in Australia,
Yeah.
because apparently it's hotter than heck in Australia right now.
Yeah.
And so I guess they're golfing in Australia. You can order yourself and I think that the deal was like, I want to say there were like 6 boxes at 25, so 150 hemp composite golf tees for like $30. I realize that probably if you go to the golf place, you can probably buy that for $10 made out of wood. But once again, and they're obviously reusable, so it's not like you're going to leave them in the ground unless something happens. I have not used my hemp composite tees. I would not imagine that they would break even remotely as easily as a wood tee would. So it's again, I'll find out. I will do a test study next summer. We didn't get to any golf this year because they closed our favorite golf course. Not that there's not 50 golf courses around Cincinnati, but they closed our favorite one. So I guess in protest, we decided not to golf this year. But I'll get my golf tees out. They're in my bag, my hemp composite golf tees out, and give them a shot. So, but if you're a golfer and you're in the South or wherever, and you can golf year round, you need some hemp golf tees. There you go. Hemp tees. HemptiesGolfUSA.com. And they actually have a hemp stretchy belt which I thought was kind of interesting. They were sold out of them, or I would have shown the picture of it. But that's, so basically there's like 3 different amounts of golf tees you can buy, and then they also do like a hemp belt. It was kind of interesting. All right. Well, that's all the news that's fit to talk about here on the High Noon Hemp Show. We don't really have any events going on. If you have an event and you want me to talk about it, then email me or let us know on Facebook, and we'll try to get you on the event schedule. I will get the dates. I know there's a Women in Cannabis event going on here in Cincinnati soon. We talked about it last night at the medical marijuana meetup, and I should have gotten more information so I could talk about it here. You might even be able to just Google, women's cannabis event in Cincinnati and see what pops up.
Yeah.
I'll try to get some more information on that. Either way. So, all right, folks, thanks for watching. Remember, reduce, reuse, recycle, make everything else out of hemp. Having temptations.
See y'all next week.